Hey guys, Matt with Option Omega. Thanks for checking out the video. We had a bunch of comments on a video we released a couple weeks ago about a RIC, technically actually a reverse iron butterfly, but we're calling it the RIC reverse iron condor. And we're going to get into some of these comments right here. Daniel Perkins says, had more time to think about this. Curious what it looks like with no short leg, just for comparison's sake. I'll show you how easy it is to run that. No short leg. Here we go. Here's the interesting thing. The thing that so many people couldn't believe, I couldn't believe it either, which is why I made the video, is for years now, for nearly 5 years, all you need to know is if VIX is down, and in the past, that has worked to go long volatility, essentially, long some amount of movement in the form of buying a strangle or a straddle. Now, here's something interesting. This does show profitable, but we need to make a couple changes because we got rid of the shorts. This is not going to capture all the trades. You notice we only have 280 trades going back almost 5 years. So what we're going to do, our allocation of 2.5%, we're going to do something. We are going to bump that up to 10%. But then just for the purposes of the back test, we're going to cap the contracts. So we're just going to trade one contract. So this is just a straddle. All you're doing, you're buying a straddle. You're buying an at the money whenever VIX is down. You don't care what day it is. You don't care who the president is. You don't care who's second in the NBA in assists. You don't care if Venus is in retrograde. You care about none of that. All you care about is VIX down, yes or no. So this is interesting. 2020 was a rough year. Makes total sense when you think about it. 2022 was a great year. Also makes total sense if you were trading during those time periods. 2020 was COVID. Vol was extremely jacked most of the year. So even when we had an overnight VIX move down, vol was still very expensive. In 2022, if you traded, even though the market was down, the OO community, which had just started earlier in the year, went absolutely ham with tons of long volatility trades. Calendars, straddles, but volatility was so rich, it was actually really easy to find back tests and trades that worked well in 2022. The short premium sellers did very well as well if they followed their back tests. So Daniel, here's what it looks like with no short leg. Still overall had some good times, but this year wouldn't be probably nothing to write home about. And here's the thing. This is a pretty ugly drawdown here, 44%. It does have positive expectancy. You can see it went on a bit of a roller coaster ride from 100K all the way down to 60K. You probably wouldn't have traded through this, right? I don't know most people who would stick with this strategy. So thanks for the comment, Daniel. There's the answer to your question. We're going to have a couple more back tests here at the end, but we're going to keep going. Lou Bob said, works best in a low IV environment. You can see that because from May of 2022 through May of 2023 was flat. And then the profits mimic the recent bull surge. So here's what's just so simple. Like the cool thing about OO, you don't have to speculate or anything. You can just test. So let's test. You said May. So we'll just do end of May through, we'll do the start of May 2022 through the end of May, the beginning of June 2023. Let's take a look. And this is back to the original back test that we had. Okay, this is the original one. And yeah, great comment. Now here's what's interesting. This is still, I mean, barely any drawdown. That's not bad considering the return. You have a 7 MAR. This is a very limited time frame, right? So this is just a year. And I think you're not wrong, Lou Bob. Lou Bob's got this dialed in here for about 6 months from August through March, really. We were pretty flat, although you did have a really nice run up. Well, not a really nice run up. You had a run up into that, but then you had a really nice run up coming out of it. So yeah, it was flat-ish during this time period, but on the tail end of it, you had some positive movement. Now, let's look at a couple other people asked about where the profits in this come from. So we're going to do something interesting. We're going to ratio this. And I'm going to ratio it to 2 puts, and I'm going to do the same thing I did before, just for the purposes of the back test. So we're trading, make sure we get a contract on, because 2.5 allocation is not going to be enough to always trade a contract when you're buying an additional put spread. So I just want to see, how does this back test do when you ratio it? And again, when you contract cap in option Omega, it has its uses. We're not going to compare a back test that's contract capped to a back test that's not. We're not going to compare them like for like. What we're doing is we're running this back test to see, was this still a profitable idea? And it's already done. Okay, here we go. So yeah, interestingly enough, all 5 years now, not great, but all 5 years still profitable. Now let's go the other way. And we're going to take the put spreads back to 1. We'll do the call spreads. I know at least one commenter, which I don't have in front of me, but one commenter commented that a lot of the profits will come from the call side. And that's true. Let's look. We can do 2 different things. Number 1, we can run this as a ratio. So this is going to be, again, not comparing. We're not going to compare the MAR of a capped to an uncapped back test. But what we are going to do is use this as a example of interesting. Yes, indeed. Look at that. So this thing cooked pretty well with a ratio as well. So yeah, both of those methods still were profitable, which a lot of people would say that makes this back test something you can have more confidence in. Any one of the setups, put ratio, 1-to-1, or call ratio, all had positive expectancy over that time frame. Now, I did have somebody who asked, and I don't have this in front of me, how easy is it to inverse this? It's super easy. So what we're going to do is we're going to sell the at the money, buy out of the money, and they wanted to do the opposite. So what we're just going to do is, instead of VIX moving down, we're going to make sure VIX moves up a minimum, and we're going to sell the at the money. Now, my guess, and we should probably do a whole nother video on this. If you would like to see a video, please drop a note in the comments. My guess is this is probably not going to be profitable due to the way options are priced. But let's take a look. And again, if you want to see a deep dive on that, drop a comment. Also, if you can like and subscribe this video, that helps us make more content quicker, etc., etc. Nothing to write home about. Now, one thing that we do want to, I think we probably got all of these trades in here. We do want to make sure we have enough allocation. So just to be sure, let's do the same thing we did before, which is we'll run 10% and we'll just cap it at 1, which that should capture every conceivable option. I think we got a lot of them here, but this might give us a few more. So again, right now we're testing, one of the most basic premium selling trades, which is you're selling at the money, you're selling a straddle, you're buying wings, your risk, your max risk is the width of the wings, always. Okay. So yeah, that 574 trades before. Okay. So somebody may ask, why was one of these positive and one of them negative? They had the same amount of trades. That's right. The reason why, if you go through this, I can tell you without even looking at it, but we'll demonstrate it here. If you sort this by losers and you sort it by max losers, you will see that there were a lot of losers where you, look at, again, this is a pretty silly trade. You had a lot more than one trade go on. That's why. The answer is you had more than one. And this is actually a super, super interesting data point. Look at how, if you did not trade through COVID, March 6th, March was the month, right? Like, it was crazy a little bit before and a little bit after, but March 2020, you see some crazy, crazy stuff. And look at how crazy this was. Just as a teachable moment here. 15 wide. Okay. So for 15 wide, you got $14.65 credit. And that's with a little bit of slippage on there. So that is how much vol was juiced. That is how much was baked into the probability of movement. And as you can see, that's happened before too. End of 2022, I mentioned earlier, what happened in 2022? We had a pretty nasty sell-off, right? The market went from over 5,000 down to 3,500. We're at over 6,000 now, just a couple years later, but fall of 2022, great time to be trading options. If you were trading index options and weren't making hay, you weren't part of OO then, because it was a great time to be trading options. Look at how much credit you got on a 15 wide. You got $14.85 credit. And if you look at it, 15 wide. Now the calls were 20 wide, but the puts were only 15 wide. Just a fractional rounding difference there, depending on exactly where the at the money was right in the middle. So point is, on these examples here, you got you got a lot of credit for the premium. And that's happened a decent amount. It even happened this year, and there's some examples here. So here's one where actually you got 15 and it didn't move all that much, only moved a little bit more. Sold 2 of them. So anyway, TradeLog will tell you a lot of super interesting stuff. So there's a couple more back tests. We're going to drop them in the comments. Thanks for the comments on the RIC video. We have more to come. Keep watching. Thanks, guys. Have a great rest of your day.